Join us, please feel free to do so. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you for our students being back in school. I thank you for the rest that our students, our staff, and our parents receive during the Christmas holiday. I just pray that you will continue to bless our district, be with our students, help them to really connect with their teacher and with those who will provide them the support that they need to be successful. I just pray that you will just be with our school district, be with the actions of the board, that the decisions that we make be the ones that are in line with your will for our school district. These things I ask in Jesus' name.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rolling.
I will seek approval of the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we have had our minutes, and I trust that if there were any additions or deletions that you got with Terry to correct those. If not, I'll entertain a motion. Have a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
It is at this time that we allow anyone in the audience who might have some comments to make. Please feel free to come forward and use your 5 minutes wisely.
So, Madam President, members of the board, I would like to introduce really some new partners to Hobbs School. These are representatives from Park Hill, Smith & Cooper, and I'll let them introduce themselves. And they're the design firm that'll be designing our new middle schools.
Yes, we're thrilled to be out. My name is RJ Lopez, and I'm an architect and principal in charge on the new middle school. This is my colleague, Alan Wolf. He is a principal, cost estimator, quality control extraordinaire. So
Keep those calls
down.
Keep going as long as you want.
And then we have Jeff Reed here. He's the project manager. He'll be making sure, everything comes in on time, on budget, and making sure the right people are in the right place. So we're excited to have him here. He has a ton of middle school experience, and we're really excited to start working with your committee. We ran through the presentation last week, and there's just so many opportunities, and we're really proud to be a part of it, and we're thankful that you let us join. We started looking for example middle schools in New Mexico to tour, and we were having a hard time, and PSA was having a hard time, and it's because there's not a lot of new middle schools that have been built in 10 or 20 years even. So I think y'all are doing something that's going to set the pace for the rest of the state, and something that I think is really special for Hobbs. So we just want to say we're excited to get going, and thank y'all for inviting us.
Thank you. We're used to doing that.
Yeah,
We're used
there
to
you
doing
go.
that.
Yeah, CTEC, and yeah. Won't be the beginning. So
Well, we're thrilled to have Park Hill as part of the team. As you all know, they participated in that RFP and went through that process. And as close as that was, we felt like Park Hill best suits our needs as to where we are today as Hobbs Municipal Schools and well into the future. So we're looking forward to get started, and tomorrow's really that first kickoff. So all's left's finishing is the comment we always end with.
yeah, let's get it done.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, welcome to Hobbs.
Well, thank you all very
Thank you.
much. Looking forward to being out here
an
again.
exciting middle school.
Oh,
Yes.
ready to go.
Let's do it. Thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, I do have another piece of public comment. Wanted to put this up front rather than have it towards the end during announcements. As you all know, Hobbs Municipal Schools participates with United Way in their fund drive annually. And for employees that contribute $150 of their salary, we provide them a United Way day. It doesn't cost them a sick day. It doesn't cost them a personal leave day. It's a United Way day. And that's a way in which we can match their participation in United Way. On January the 6th, United Way held their annual meeting, and this is where they have begun at recognizing their top 15 organizations as donors. For the second year in a row, Howes Municipal Schools is listed in that top 10. And this year, we are number 2. And so it is extremely humbling to know that our employees continue to give of themselves financially to our community for greater good. Definition of service, unlike no other. And so this plaque here that we were presented with will be present upstairs in our seating area of central office, and we will share that out with all the members of HMS tomorrow in an update email. So super proud of Hobbs Schools.
Thank you, Hobbs Schools. Very proud for that. That's great. Okay, I guess we will get started, and we have just an extra special judge here today, so
Yes,
take it away.
Madam President, Mr. Calderon, Mr. O'Brien, and Mr. Romine, we'd ask that you come down here in front so that the Honorable Clipper Miller can administer the oath of office.
Now, you did get that change in the oath that I sent you, didn't you?
I thought they were supposed to have it memorized.
Well, no, I'm talking about the part that says, and whatever Peggy asked you to
No, Terry asked me to come swear at them, and I said, that doesn't seem appropriate. She said, "We certainly appreciate the service that you are providing here by taking this office. If you would please raise your right hand. I state your name. Having been elected to the office of school board member in the county of Lee, state of New Mexico, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico, and faithfully and impartially discharge duties of said office to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
And in 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
will be our turn.
We'll
to
do it
run.
again.
Mhm.
We so choose. Thank you, young man, for agreeing to be a part of our board.
You
Ooh.
for having us.
Now we are looking at the reorganization of our board. And so do we have any, we'll start with president. Do we have any nominations for president?
Madam President, I would like to ask you, would you stay on as the president of our board through starting?
I will be glad to.
2024?
Thank you for that.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I will vote for myself. Vice President, we have Mr. O'Brien as our current Vice President.
I move we keep Mr. O'Brien if he wants to as vice president. I nominate Mr. O'Brien.
I second it.
Okay, we have a nomination, a second. All in favor?
I
And Secretary, Ms. Jones has been our secretary for a while. Do you wish to continue?
I will continue.
Do I hear a motion?
will move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Now well, this will be a good time to do this. I have some exemplary awards to give out to the school board members that have attained a level of, is it 30 hours? Yeah, it's a bunch. Not everybody makes it. Few are good. And we've got Terry O'Brien. Yep. Thank you. And Mr. Calderon. Both of them exceed exemplary, as did Mr. Eaton, but he is no longer here. So thank you for your service. hours. A lot of sitting and listening and learning and doing and sharing, and I do appreciate it.
If you
Okay,
don't mind, I will personally deliver that one to you, Mr.
there you go.
Francis.
Thank you. Okay, now we will move on to instruction.
Madam President, members of the board, the first one under instruction is career and technical education adoption timeline. And we're not bringing this for your approval yet. We're just sharing with you the process. So as you can see, we start in, well, it's career and technology and health this year. August, September, they begin the process of looking at the pathway redevelopment. October and November, continued planning and on the pathway and having staff input on that. And then December 6th, they took the curriculum changes to the curriculum committee in December. The rest of these are still yet to come. There will be textbook presentations to the staff. There will be a parent viewing time, which this day that they've selected is parent conference day, which they thought would be a good day. Parents are out and in the schools, and so they'll have that up and ready for them to look at. And then it will come for your approval at the February 20th board meeting to approve their selection, and then those will be ordered in March for the upcoming school year.
Well, that looks very good. I hope we get a lot of parent participation.
I hope
Now-
we do too.
Kind of help me out here a minute. When we say career and technical education, what specifically are we talking about?
You're going to talk about welding, all of the classes over here,
okay.
welding, carpentry.
Okay.
This is their time to have their selection of books renewed.
Okay. That's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure. Oh, now we have consideration of fund.
This next one will be, will require a motion. We're seeking approval for a spring Hobbs High School band trip. You have in front of you the correct papers with Mr. Parrish, and also the information on how many students where and the dates. And I'm going to ask Mr. Parrish and Mr. Cheney to come down. They'll be available for any questions you might have about this. Just to summarize, it's San Antonio, 82 students, 15 chaperones, and it's May 28th through the 31st.
No miss school.
No miss school. Good planning.
When, yeah, and the kids are going, rats, couldn't we go a little sooner?
The president, members of the board, just request this trip. It's I think the kids reward for them. Good ambassadors. Alice, before that.
Sounds good. Are there any questions? Either Mr. Parrish or Mr.
Not a question, but I have a question. Did you all do a poinsettia type of thing at Christmas time to raise funds? Or have you had to do anything to raise funds to go on some of these trips?
We do raise funds. We didn't do poinsettias. We did old wreaths, garlands, live greenery.
I think the choir did the pansies. Did they do pansies this year? Anybody buy pansies from the choir? Oh, they didn't call me, and those are the best pansies in the world.
Even though they don't, our meetings are not probably at the time they're either selling them before, but if you'll send a representative here, you'll probably get us to sign up to receive them. And sometimes people in the audience, so they've actually been able to come and probably get more names of people to sell the items, because they can't be everywhere all the time. But we do participate and we'll support them.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Madam President, Ms. Pat, I promise you, I probably paid for this trip for about
Are you one of the 15?
I don't know. We'll have to wait to see. They do quite a few fundraisers. I will say that. The kids work hard, the parents, the Booster Club works hard. and, They do a whole lot of stuff in the community, selling different things, different fundraisers.
Well, we
You know,
kind of
offset
get
the
used to
cost
it,
of
and
the
so
trip.
that's why I say sometimes our meetings probably don't fall when they're doing it. When they come, we do, support them if we know they're
Sure.
out there trying to eat those bushes.
Well, if there are no more questions, I will entertain a motion.
So move. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Have fun.
Thank y'all so
Let the
much.
fun begin.
So finish the semester first.
Go in tomorrow and tell the students that it was denied. Just for kicks.
Oh, that's.
Back me up on
She's
that.
got one over.
Okay, Mr. Human Resources, are you next?
Madam President, members of the board, you have your monthly reports. First report, certified employment. We were able to bring on 3 teachers here in January. We had 4 classified employees that came on board as well. We did have 4 certified resignations. As I'm looking at it, we've already in process of filling one of the teacher positions. Then we had 5 classified resignations and 3 actual certified retirements. And we've already filled one and are in process on hiring another of the positions. Stand for any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Byrd?
I have none.
Well, thank you very much. I'm sure you're out there beating the bushes. I saw that you were going to make some big round trips to go here, there, and yonder. Or had you already done it?
No, ma'am, we've got 10 set up so far. We're gonna start in February. We'll have 3 job fairs in February, 5 in March, and right now I have 1 scheduled in April, but we have probably 2 more in April that'll come on. Right now, we're looking at about 12 jobs.
Right, well, that's good. Get to those teachers before anybody else. does.
Ma'am.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I think it was Will that had actually did it. Now, I know Sandra used to go places when it was cold. We were hot. She would always get people that wanted to sign up and, come this way. And, a lot of husbands and wives. And, but that was people that also wanted to move back to this area. But as it cold it is now, I wouldn't even want our people out trying to get them. It has been cold.
It's warming up.
Yes.
Mrs. Byrd,
Madam President, members of the board, I have a few informational reports for you tonight. The first is 80-day reporting. The 80-day, seems like forever ago, was December 1st. And we are still in the process of validating those results. But if you look at the green highlighted box under the 23-24 school year membership report, you can see our enrollment as of that date was 10,268. Membership 9949, and our FTE membership, which is what funding is based on, is 9883 and a half. And that does represent an increase of enrollment from the same time last year of 250 students, and the FTE membership increase of 172 units. Again, that's what the funding is based on. So moving in a positive direction, both from the 40-day of this year and the 80-day of last year. So those are all positive increases.
and our new board member may be wondering why our enrollment and our membership is not the same.
I would be happy to explain that. So enrollment is actual human beings that sit in our chairs and are taught by our teachers. Membership is based on the funding unit. For example, a preschool student only comes half a day, so they're a half a unit. And so that's why those numbers are a little bit different from the different areas, but it's all based on that funding formula. Thank you, Ms. Al. Any other questions about that report?
No, it looks good. It's gonna be time for the 120 before you know it.
Absolutely.
I think you said that the majority of our pre-K full day now?
Madam President, Mr. O'Brien, yes, the majority of our pre-K programs are full day. We made that shift this year in response to pre-K funding. However, the rules don't reflect that yet because those dollars are still funded to us by ECECD and not through our SEG. So it is a question that I'm going to probe a little bit more on as to why we can't have those more closely reflect what those are.
That'd be a good resolution for you,
Yes, sir.
budget resolution.
Yes, sir.
All right, Madam President, members of the board, the next report is on attendance. I threw a couple of slides in there that are a refresher on the attendance law and what counts as an absence. The first slide has those definitions from the Attendance for Success Act from 2019. And you can see that a student who's chronically absent or is considered chronic absenteeism is 10%. They're missing 10% or more of instructional days. So at 80 day, they would have missed more than 8 days. And then you have the distinction between excused absence, medical absence, and unexcused absence. However, when they're counting that chronic absenteeism, excused and unexcused both count because they're looking at it as a loss of instructional time, whether you missed that day for a doctor's appointment or just because you stayed home, you still missed that instructional time. And so that's the logic that the law is looking at it from. And then just the rules about that we have to report that. It also is published at the end of the year on the state website as well, every school district's attendance rate. There on page 18, you can see a comparison. I reported to you the 40-day back in October, and this is the 80-day, and the column on each end, you can see for each school, the percent of students that they have that are chronically absent, meaning that they have missed more than 10% excused or unexcused of the school year so far. And you can see if you're looking across from left to right, you can see where it was at 40-day and where that percentage is at 80-day. And so we have had some increases pretty much across the board. But on the last slide there for attendance, I included the same information from the 80-day with the chronic absentees, but then I subtracted out all of the ones that were excused absences so that you could see what that percentage would be if the excused absences were in fact excused and not included in the chronic absentee percentage. And so you can see that that's probably a little bit more of a clear picture of our students that are missing unexcused days of school. And those are the students that our parent attendance liaisons are working with the families, trying to get those kids in school more regularly so that they aren't missing that instructional time. Have any questions about any of that information?
Am I wrong in thinking that they were going to look at this act and do something to it?
No.
Madam President, you're not wrong. There is a piece of legislation that has been pre-filed that would look at more along the penalties of the Attendance for Success Act relative to parents, and it'd be more of a fine per se in terms of educational neglect. Didn't look like the proposed legislation was looking at refining the definition of an absence.
And my final report tonight is just, we're coming up on testing season. I don't know if I would give a hooray for that, but it does keep me very busy, as well as our principals and teachers and students. And so just a breakdown of this semester, each of the assessments that we'll be giving, both EOY and the summative assessments, at the various grade levels and content areas, just so that you'll kind of have an idea of what will be going on. Any questions?
Any questions for Mrs. Bird? Well, thank you very much. And now, look who's here 2 times in a row. Mr. Young, take it away.
Calgon. Madam President, members of the board, coming to you tonight with project updates. Started off this evening meeting with Park Hill. We're very excited about partnering with them and looking forward to being with them and seeing what they can do for Hobbs schools. Southern Heights, starting off with them. Phase 2 has begun. We'll kind of go over that attachment here in a minute. But if you haven't been by there, demolition has begun of the old Southern Heights. So it is coming down. So it's a sad sight, but it's also an exciting time as well, because there's going to be a lot of good things for that building was. We are continuing to complete punch list on the new building, and we did get our controls for Honeywell. We're actually able to control temperatures remotely here. The same cannot be said for the Tidings Auditorium show. We're still waiting on Honeywell on that. We do have a meeting with them tomorrow, and we're going to try to get that straightened out along with some other items as well. One of the things that we've battled is over at the new CTEC with fire alarms going off, smoke detectors going off, and Honeywell is in the process of getting those smoke detectors changed out to heat detectors, which we asked for over a year ago. So they will begin work on that so that the Hobbs Fire Department will not be so mad at us all the time, all out. I will say, also going back to Southern Heights, that demolition actually started occurring before Bradbury came in with their heavy equipment. HPD, Hobbs Fire Department, and Lee County Sheriff's Office did a pretty good job of starting the destruction. They blew some doors, blew some windows, caved in some walls, crawled through some walls. They had a big time, but really a benefit to the whole community to allow them to be able to go in and train in that facility.
Absolutely.
Met with our chief SRO officer, Sergeant Ford, today, reminding him that hopefully we'll have the chance again in about 3 years. They'll continue to be able to operate within schools as we continue our transition into new buildings. The new middle school, we are still in contract negotiations with Park Hill. We're about to finalize those. We do have a tentative calendar established with them so far. As they mentioned earlier, we do have our first community meeting tomorrow from 1 to 3 over at the training center. I believe Mr. Strickland sent an invite out to all of the board members if you'd like to attend for that. And then we also have our site visit scheduled for February 12th and 13th, where we will be going and visiting other new middle schools to look at their designs and what we might want or maybe don't want our new middle school here in Hobbs. And then a tentative, very rough outline calendar with a CMAR type project. Hopefully being able to finish up early spring of 27 and being in that new building, ready to go. Was for new administration, new people to get in there, begin the hiring process, getting schools organized, and getting furniture in, making sure everything's ready to go. August. That of it. Ongoing projects, the multipurpose building door replacement that has been completed. Finishing out our summer 23 projects. We've completed those now. Those have been completed. The last part was dealing with VitraTurf installations at Murray and our new complex at Hobbs High. Those have all been completed. That courtyard in the South Platoon at Hobbs High is done.
Same pictures of it.
Very good.
Very good.
Other things that have come up, we have requested fencing quotes for across the street at CTEC. Those are still coming in. The lock set changes in classroom doors, those have almost been 100% completed for security for those classrooms all throughout the district. Will Rogers and Stone have completed their window replacements over there. Those are exterior windows. Security film has almost been finished. All we lack now is freshman high school and the new Southern Heights. All of that will be completed probably in the next 2 weeks. And then Edison, a lot of work going on over at Edison with new classroom doors, cabinets, and exterior windows. And that should be completed in the next few days over at Edison. Next slide kind of shows you the demo process for Southern Heights. We did start with demo 1 on the east side of the building. That allows for them to start immediately being able to get access, to start laying foundations for that concrete work, for that new drive in the back. That should all be completed, demo 1, 2, 3, and then 4, you see there. That timeline of January 10th through March 15th. Everything goes well, they should be completed prior to that. So that's a very conservative estimate on their part on that. Phase 3, once those are completed, you see the playground areas and equipment and servicing will come in. That timeline there is March 18th through the 29th, which will occur mainly through our spring break period. So when we come back to school after spring break and Easter, we should be completely done at Southern Heights. Everything should. Kids, the staff at Southern Heights, Miss Salinas, they've done a great job over there, being able to corral kids in a very small area right now. It'd be tough when you don't have a lot of playground space for elementary kids. They've done an excellent job being able to handle that situation. And as things get warmed up in April, hopefully we'll have a whole big playground. Finally get excited about that. That's all I have for tonight. If y'all have any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Young?
Edmund.
Madam President, members of the board, one couple of comments to that. We have already received questions about middle school and redistricting, when that would occur. We will not begin that process until probably the fall of 26 into the winter of 27, so that we're in advance of students enrolling into that new campus and it affecting all 3 other schools for the fall of 27. Gives us the best capture of data sets, data points, so as we go through that process, but we're years away from that at this point, but that will occur. And then with the updated schedule on Southern Heights, as that day gets closer, we'll actually set a dedication ceremony, ribbon cutting ceremony, just like we've done in many of our other campuses as we've opened them up new. Broadmoor would be similar to this in that we were in Broadmoor while we completed the demolition and the site work. We'll schedule that ribbon cutting for after that site work is all complete. Late spring semester, that process.
We have had our information since Friday. I trust if you have any questions about our lengthy budget that Ms. Gray is trying to spend us out the door with, that, we checked with her. I do know, I almost had a heart attack to realize how much lamination we were doing, and then I realized it was the film on the window.
Yes,
Oh
ma'am.
my gosh, why are they laminating?
Everything, every
Then
single
I
thing.
remembered. Then I remembered.
All the things. Madam President, and members of the board, for your consideration, I have the expenditures and the investments.
And there were no bars.
There were no bars this time,
Okay. If there are
and no bids or RFPs.
That's true. Nothing extra.
I'm sure we'll have some next month.
I make a motion that we accept the consideration of the expenditures and investments.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, and thank you for the monthly report.
Ma'am,
And now we are moving to the superintendent's business.
Yes, ma'am.
I guess this first one is mine. Consideration of the superintendent's contract. And he currently has a contract that goes through 25-26. Do I have a motion to extend this?
I'll move.
I
Second.
have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, it will extend to 26-27.
Thank you.
Almost in time to redistrict. The salary will be determined as we complete our budget information at the time. We know when, we don't know when that's due. That's not full.
we do not, we know that spring budget workshop is the week of spring break,
Of course.
so. But we do not have a budget due date at this time.
Yeah, I didn't think we would. I'm surprised they even had the spring budget workshop, but maybe they put it early on. Okay. Mr. Strickland.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, members of the board, I have at your desk really 3 pages, and this first page says legislative session at the top. And I do apologize for it not being in your packets, but I wanted to see if the pre-files would actually get numbered today, and they did not. And so that number of Senate Bill 75 still stands as pre-files. To date, there's 130 plus House bills filed and 75 Senate bills filed. I've got the calendar for you. They started today at noon. They have until the 31st for the deadline for introduction of bills. The session will end on February the 15th. And then legislation not acted on by the governor is pocket vetoed on March 6th, with May the 15th being the effective date of any legislation that carries an emergency clause. A reminder, this is a 30-day session. And so by state statute, the items to be presented and should be on the docket, so to speak, are relative to budget and finance, or any items on the call of the governor. And that's been exclusive of all the previous administrations. So it is interesting to see that we have 30 days, 29 days now, and there are 220 or 230 bills already being pre-filed. So I can share with you that the majority of those are not finance related. They're not budget related, that they are additional legislative efforts. And so we would anticipate those coming up next legislative cycle. As we meet again in February, again, that session will be complete by the time we have another board meeting, but we will have at least some sort of idea at that point. But as we have other updates throughout the legislative session, I will provide those to you. In addition to our Mexico School Board Association annual meeting, where we do have an opportunity to visit with legislators at the end of the beginning of February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
I'm sure it will be a lively 30-day session.
I as well. Madam
County
President.
is on the forefront of all of the good stuff.
We do know there's a record amount of money available.
Thank you, Lee County.
Yep, absolutely. And a growing number of legislators continue to recognize that. So we're appreciative of that.
That is
The next item I have for your information is really our calendar for 24-25. It's crazy to think we're in January and we're talking about next school year. However, this is the time of year when we begin that work. So ESAC, that's a primary function of our ESAC team, which is representative of every campus in town. They have one member on that team. And they began that work last week in our January meeting. And we're all aware that there is a proposed rule that would adjust calendar statewide. As we've shared before, that rule would not impact us in a great way. One way we know that it will affect us is on Wednesdays for elementary. We would not be attending 6.5 hours, and that's what's required to attend school instructional time to count as a full day. We were 6.33 hours. So on Wednesdays, we add 10 minutes to elementary. The ESAC members that were there said that's not a problem at all. We'll just get out 10 minutes later. We're on Wednesdays anyway during professional development time. So all of our 183 days now meet the statutory or the proposed rule requirement of 6.5 hours. The next requirement will be, can we satisfy the 1,140 hours as well as the 180-day minimum? We're assuming that that rule would be implemented as written. If it is amended or adjusted, it will only be to our favor. We don't believe it will get any worse. So their task was to begin crafting a calendar. And what they did is they got a copy just like this. And it's a blank calendar that you all have access to. And they said, find 183 instructional days. And then on top of that, add 8 additional PD days. And so they began doing that individually. And so to date, we have nearly every campus has submitted a draft budget. And again, this is just a working budget. We'll get back to
calendar.
what's that? Not a budget, a calendar. Thank you for that. That's top of mind as well with session in. But we'll get back together in February. We'll take those calendars and the nuances between them and put them into groups and continue to collate those. And by the March ESAC meeting, what we would hope to have is have some final versions to submit to staff for their voting. And at the March board meeting, we'd bring that for your consideration. With the caveat of the final rule being adopted, we believe after the legislative session is when that will become effective. But we can tweak that as it's adjusted. But yeah, you do have a blank calendar. Anyone that would like to have a blank calendar, you're free to take a blank calendar and find 183 days and 8 PD days. So
Thank you for coming.
when you get into it, it is much more difficult than one would assume on the surface.
Oh, yeah.
An addition this year will be November the 5th. Previously, the general election day has not been a holiday for us. It will be a school holiday in the state of New Mexico. So no schools will be allowed to have staff or students on the general election day. We'll update you as we continue to move forward. And in February, we'll have additional information as it applies. Madam President, members of the board, the final item we have is announcements. So as we've talked about a couple of times, tomorrow we will begin that middle school design team at the training center at 1 o'clock for our first session, our leadership definition task force meeting, which we've held 2 meetings before. We will have our 3rd meeting on January the 23rd here at central office that morning. Our annual meeting for New Mexico School Board Association is February 1st through 3rd in Santa Fe. And I believe Terry's been in contact with each of you in terms of those particulars for hotels and arrangements. And then we will have our regular board meeting on February the 20th, 2024.
Looks good. Any questions for Mr. Strickland?
Madam President, the only other announcement I would have would be, I've been in conversation with Mr. Joe Guillen, Executive Director of NMSBA, and the board did approve, the New Mexico School Board Association did approve our seat, Hobbs Municipal Schools board seat on their board of directors due to our enrollment.
Oh,
So we do have that seat back available. All we need to do is provide them that name, and that name can be as appointed.
I think that, oh, well, I was gonna say me, but I will miss this first meeting, so. There you go.
I have a question about that. Has Mr. O'Brien been sitting in that capacity?
So previously, and I'm going to speak on my history, and then Mr. O'Brien, you can fill in the details. I believe originally Mr. O'Brien was appointed to that seat
Yes.
when we had that, and then he began that state office journey.
Okay,
We
And
lost our 10,000.
when we lost our 10,000, we lost that seat. However, he was already on that state board of directors as an executive officer
okay.
in that capacity.
Not
So-
understanding when we get to the numbers, we have a seat, then if we drop, you lose a seat, and
lose
then we. So what is our enrollment today?
10,271.
270, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
But we have the seat.
We have the seat. Yes,
And I
ma'am.
have approved the seat, but I won't be in the seat. But I will be ready in June. Okay. It looks like adjournment.
Yes, ma'am.
Vámonos.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Everybody in favor? All opposed? Look at that. Look at me.